Hey guys, Tony Benson here with Wealth Builders HQ and creator of Patterns in a Flash. Going to go back and do a review of the patterns of the week that we had last week and see how everything is playing out and which ones are still on the radar. Before I get too far into it, let me get the disclaimer out of the way. I am not a registered broker-dealer investment advisor. I will not give you any recommendations or advice. Everything we do here is purely for educational purposes. If I do mention a trade, just assume it is a paper trade or a practice trade. For regulatory reasons, we do not discuss funded trading here. So we looked last week at Chewy, Cisco, and Keurig Dr. Pepper. Let's see how they all worked out. Chewy was absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the 21st. Yeah, there's the day right there. I believe it was that day I got into it, and I meant to add to it the next day when it triggered, and I realized after it crossed that line I didn't get in. But I still picked up a decent-sized position. Actually, I just picked up 10 contracts. I was going to add 20 or 30 more. They were only 83 cents. I went way out of the money, picked up 25s. They were 83 cents, but I got stopped out of the rest of them today at, I think, 2.25, 236 or something like that. And I peeled out some of it as it dropped. Actually, I peeled out some of that day, actually, it hit. So this was about a double on my money in about 5 days, so not too shabby. Again, paper trade, right? So that's Chewy. It is working out good. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Amazon came out with earnings today, and aftermarket, they were getting hammered. I can't imagine they won't get destroyed tomorrow because their earnings were absolutely abysmal. I think it was their first reported loss ever, which a lot of it had to do with their Rivian investment, but it doesn't matter. And it was like they lost $7 a share versus making $8 a share is what. They were off by $15 a share. It was massive. And all the numbers were bad, and they said that things are getting bad. So they also said that the economic outlook is not pretty either. So I think tomorrow is going to be another massive rout in the market, which makes me cranky because I'm out of a lot of these put positions like this one. Of course, there may be more opportunities to get in. I didn't adjust this one. Or did I? No, I didn't. Yeah, the stop originally was up here about 53 because when we were looking at this, it was right there. That was the day I highlighted it as the pattern of the week. And this is what's happened last week. This is another one. Cisco, their options were not that expensive. I went about 3 months out, bought out of the money. I bought the 46s, I think. 47s, 48s, I don't remember. But when markets are moving like this, I'll go even not super short, but a little bit shorter term than normal. Normally I go 4 to 6 months out if I'm going out of the money. With the market the way it's been, I've been going a little shorter, like 3 months, maybe 2.5, but that's pushing it even because you get the delta flip, right? That's the beauty of trading options is you can get them really cheap. And the options on this one on Cisco were only $1.66. And that day, actually, a part of them filled at, I think, $2. And then it just continued to tank. And I think I got hit at 3 something. These were at 3 something yesterday. I think they got stopped out at like 280 today. So I almost doubled my money on that one. So Cisco was nice. Keurig Dr. Pepper did not trigger. This is still inside the symmetrical triangle. It's kind of getting to a point where it's negating itself. The further it goes into the apex, the point of the triangle, the less powerful it becomes. Even if it breaks out here, I wouldn't be excited about it. If I was going to take a trade on it, I would take a very small one. I wouldn't take a lot of risk because it's just not pretty anymore. Looking at the ones from the previous weeks, Abbott, this is one that actually triggered there. It looked pretty as it broke out. The volume was good, but then it stopped out the next day. So I took a loss on that one. In case you think I don't ever lose, I do. A lot, actually. More often than you might think. And actually, I'm totally cool with that because if you make big winners, if you make $5 on a couple of trades and you lose $4 on 4 different trades, you lose $1 on 4 trades, you lost $4, right? If you make $5 on 2 trades, you made $10. So you made $10, you lost $4, you're still ahead $6. And you were only 33%. You were 2 for 6. That's not a great batting average. It doesn't sound like it, but you still were profitable. That's the beauty of risk reward. CVS is still in a head and shoulders pattern. Still looking forward to possibly break down here, but they do have earnings coming up next week. So in earnings season, you got to be careful. This is one, this will come off the radar next week. This is where I highlighted it this day, and I said if it keeps dancing around there, it can't hold that 2150, then I would look at trading it. And sure enough, it came up that day, boom, 3 days. 3 days to hit the target. Not an expensive stock. I didn't look at the options on this. They're probably not super expensive. I'm guessing some in the monies were maybe $1 or $1.25. which would have made you a healthy profit. So, and then Novavax, this is another one. This is one I'm still a little bit cranky with. I was cranky that back in the pandemic, I missed a monster bullish trade. And this time I got into it right there on that line. Actually, it was about that day. I got in a little bit earlier than I probably should have. And I only got a small position. I'm wishing I would have gotten a lot more. Part of the reason I didn't take as much risk is because this is a super volatile stock. It is has a really high potential for a lot of move to the upside if news comes out. Any kind of pharmaceuticals, especially small pharmaceuticals, they get good news and they can double overnight. It's kind of crazy. And Novavax is one of those that if they came out with something, it could have. This is another one. I bought the 50s and I paid $6 something for them, which was crazy. It was a lot for a $75 stock to pay that much for out of the money. But I sold one half one day for like 9 something. So I made about 50%. And then a few days later, it wasn't moving. It started to bounce a little bit. And I decided just to take it. It got close to 50 and it bounced a little bit. And I can't remember what I got out of those. I think it was 9.5 or 10. It wasn't as much as I thought it would be. Right now, I'm wishing I would have held on because they're probably worth 12 or 15 bucks right now. But what it should have, could have, right? You never know. You don't know what's coming next, so you have to go off of what you see in front of you. It's really easy to look and say, well, I would have done this, and I would have done that, and I should have done this, and I should have done that. But when the bullets are flying, it's a whole different ballgame. So it's one of those things. I just had one today, and I catch myself doing it all the time. I've been at this 22 years, and I still do it. I look at a D-Dog today when the market just took off, and I'm like, there was a little support there, and that was beautiful, and it ran 8 points, and I'm like, there's a $2,000 trade right there in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. If I would have just gotten in, and then I had to kick myself and beat myself across the head and go, you know what sign, what signal was there, what pattern was there that gave you any indication that the thing was going to do what it did? And the answer was there was none. Now, when I miss ones, and you're going to miss trades all the time, I still get cranky, even though I do. But the one today I'm looking at going, and you fantasize about what could have been, but in reality, there was no good signal. There was no pattern that said it's time to get in the trade here. So don't delude yourself to believe in this fantasy that you could have made $2,000. Yeah, you could have, but you didn't pull the trigger. And had you pulled the trigger, you would have been taking a high-risk trade, and it would have been a foolish trade. And the fact that you make money on it is just pure luck. When it comes to trading, you want to find a pattern. You want to make sure that the pattern is solid, and you want to trade the pattern based on what makes it strong, what makes it weak, and what the projections and stuff are for that particular pattern. That's why patterns and flash is important. You want to go back and learn, go through there and learn not only the basics of charting, but also the patterns, and again, what makes them strong, what makes them weak, how to determine where they might go, and then trade it and get in the way and be smart about it. So that is it for this week. Quite a few. Some of those will come off next week. Just remember, if you're going to fail at just one thing, fail at quitting. Y'all take care. God bless.
Folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the training. Now, if you did, be sure to give us a thumbs up and go ahead and hit the subscribe button right over here and hit the bell to keep up with all the latest trading content. And oh, did you know that we have a podcast? Supercharge your trading education with the Stock Market Millionaire, which you can find in the description down below. And while you're there, you can also find other amazing free trading resources that I put together just for you.